Okay, it is 6:32 and I'll call the meeting to order, and we have one person that's for a public comment, and that's Mike Fisher. Mike, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I just came from a city council meeting, and there was some talk about the letter. I don't know if you guys sometimes I go to these meetings and I don't know the things that have happened, but they were asking, the city manager was asking the council to sign a letter on behalf of I don't know if it was for this board or for PRAD, to send it to, I guess, to Randall County or to Potter County to let them know that the city wanted to keep things the way they are. And I don't think there's much interest in that. But Ginger mentioned that at the last meeting. She said we should probably contact the taxing entities and see what they think about this. So I'm not sure if that was her doing, but it seemed like it was, and I was going to ask her today. I mean, it seems like that could be borderline tampering. I mean, these guys have sought outside counsel for an opinion, and then somebody on this board appears to have contacted the different entities to try to influence a decision based on something that they're seeking a legal opinion on. I mean, that really seems like a serious matter, and I think you guys should know about that if you haven't looked into that. Just Google, if you Google it, the city of Canyon, I think, signed it. And I think they were entertaining it other places besides just the city. So, I mean, I think that's concerning this board. And I think it's concerning when you're talking about a legal matter and it's between you guys. And at the last meeting, sorry, I'm terrible with names, Mr. Lindsay, right?
Yes.
You had mentioned, you said it was at the last meeting, I guess, that you guys had together. And a lot of you guys, I think it was the meeting after the meeting that you had together, you had mentioned, you said, what's the problem? We've never had a problem. We've always gotten along. We've always figured things out. Well, the last meeting that you had together, you guys came out of executive session and you immediately had a problem because you came out and said, I want to motion to pass something. I don't recall what it was, but then these guys, I think Potter County disputed that, and then you guys rescinded it. But that's an example of why this doesn't work. It's worked because you guys have agreed to say, well, we have a gentleman's agreement. But if you guys had decided, no, we're just going to do it, then Potter wouldn't have had a say, and Randall would have overridden Potter's dissenting opinion. So just kind of giving an example of why this is happening right now. And it seems like that Randall has a very strong opinion of what's the problem. Well, there isn't a problem when you're running the show. So just wanted to point that out. I mean, sometimes you don't see the obvious things that are happening right in front of you. So thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, so the next agenda item is to approve the minutes that were mailed to us. There's no corrections or comments. Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Deborah, a second by Jack. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Third action is to discuss an action to engage, or possible action to engage in outside counsel. So I do know that Ginger did contact 2 different lawyers, and I can't think of their names right now. Do you know the names of them?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would move we go into executive session since we're talking about a legal matter that may involve client attorney privilege, and also it could be harmful to us to disclose a law firm we may engage.
I agree with that.
I agree too.
So I have a motion by Jason to go into executive session. Second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. 6:36, we'll go into executive session. action on item 3 until we are able to get a report back from Ginger. Okay? All right, moving on to item 4, discussion concerning appraisal service contract between Potter County Appraisal District and Randall County Appraisal District.
Kathy,
Yes, sir.
thank you. So, I'm gonna start with my feelings, which my wife would be very surprised that I would start with that. I feel disheartened. I feel like there's a lot of misinformation. I don't understand where the conflict resides. In my interpretation of what I've heard, this board is in general agreement with the Potter County Board that that contract needs to be addressed. It seems like there's some artificial friction being created. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I made some notes here just to make sure I'm very clear. I agree that updating the contract to mirror the way PRAD has been operating over the past 40 years is in order. I do have a hard line that that contract cannot institutionalize gridlock that would allow either board to not be able to achieve their statutory requirements. I disagree with the Potter County tax assessor collector that in his op-ed that it is settled case law that a government agency such as the Potter County Appraisal Board can't contract out their statutory requirements. I mean, Christina, I think you could help educate a little bit. I'm not asking you to be a lawyer, but my understanding is that your office contracts with other taxing entities to collect taxes on their behalf.
That is correct.
You do not have the authority to excise those taxes, but you have, through a contract, the authority to collect them. So-
For example, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead,
For
please.
example, to kind of clarify, 2 predecessors ago before me, Bushland ISD contracted with the Randall County Commissioners Court to collect Bushland Independent School taxes. And we had that contract even before I started working at the tax office. So as an example, yes, we have had a contract with them to collect their taxes.
Yeah, so what makes me nervous is that artificial conflict is being created because, again, I can't speak for anybody else on this board, but for me personally, I agree. I'm glad folks have raised this issue to help us understand, well, that doesn't look right. Let's correct that. But we can't solve one problem and create another. And I wrote an open letter to this board, to Potter Board, and to all the taxing entities. That's just my personal opinion. I'll pass it out for everybody here to review. But I think that we need to take a step back. I think that Randall should lead here. I think that we should set up some principles about which we want to help accomplish an updated contract, but set some guidelines. My biggest fear is this, and maybe this is just because I'm a business person. I've never seen success when lawyers lead a negotiation. It gets very expensive, and usually what comes out the other end of it is an unworkable mess. I have seen success where 2 separate parties set out some guidelines. Hey, here's what we want to accomplish. Will you review this and make sure it follows the law and make sure that it's, everything's buttoned up and there's fire escapes for both parties if things don't work out. But don't let them lead it. Because if they lead it, it gets too expensive. And so that's why I would say, what I would want us to consider, I don't necessarily say I'm advocating it, but what I would want us to consider is, hey, let's send Potter, well, we're in agreement with you. We want to do what you want to do, but we have this concern. Can we address this concern? And if we can, great. And then we put it together, we give it to the lawyers for both parties, have them work it out, and then we can sign it and move on and start doing people's business. And hopefully, at the most, I don't want to say the most efficient cost, that's not my goal. My goal is to accomplish the objectives of both parties in the most efficient and the most efficient way possible. And I don't feel like we're going down that path right now. I feel like we're going down the path of spending a lot of money on lawyers and getting something at the other end that might not be workable. And so, and then the last thing, well, I'm happy that the Potter County Tax Assessor Collector said in his comments earlier that at the Emerald City Council that, you know, he personally is not seeing Potter County or anybody else advocate for separation. But we heard on May 5th, 2 members of Potter advocate for separation. So I just want to get the record clear. That narrative is out there. And I went back because I wasn't sure and I wanted to be sure. I went back and listened to it. It's at the 27-minute mark where both Chimp Hunt and, I want to butcher it, Craig.
Galtiero.
Thank you. Both advocated for it. Now, and I addressed that in this letter, which I'll pass out and y'all can read. I'm not blaming them. I don't know if they thought that through, but I feel like as a board member, once that moves into the public domain, then we got to start, it's our responsibility to think about that. What does that look like for the people that we represent? And so I'm glad that Thomas More III has stepped out and said, no, we don't want that. I would hope those 2 members would say the same thing, because that is very scary, in my opinion, for the expenses that it would incur for Potter and Randall. Because again, if we go back and look over 40 years from what I have been told, and I've only been here for about 2, or going on the 2nd year, it doesn't seem like there's been anything that has created so much division that created gridlock that we couldn't move forward. And so at the same time, I agree that Potter County needs to have, the contract needs to be adjusted so that Potter County has more formal voting. And so what I advocate for is a contract that represents what we have been doing for 40, or what these boards have been doing for 40 years, while also making sure that gridlock is not institutionalized in the contract, where both boards can't move forward with their requirements. So, I'm sorry I took so much time, but.
I would like to see a list of Potter County's concerns. I don't know what they are. I would like to see something say, get around your point that we keep the lawyers out of it, because we can get a lot more done face to face than we can with lawyers. But say, just have them give us a list, say, what's your complaints, what's your concerns? Let's talk about it and see what we can come up with.
I absolutely agree that the contract needs to be redone. I've said this several times, not only for the 2 boards and the public and everything, but also for Jeffrey and his staff. You know, when this got brought to light, y'all had no footing. Y'all had, you know, I mean, it was kind of up in the air as to, oh, what do we do? You know, so moving forward, I think a contract or wording, you know, will help everybody move forward. Now, just from what I've experienced the past couple of weeks through customers, you know, I really haven't had any, actually I haven't had any county officials in any county or anybody in that capacity come and ask me about it, but it's mainly the taxpayers that, you know, hey, what's going on, you know, with the board or whatever. And to me, it's come down to educating them. They, again, still, the ones that I've spoken with still think that this board determines values. And that's always been my big thing is, no, we do not determine anything to do with values. Oh, you know, my job, part of my job as the tax assessor collector for Randall County is to educate on these purposes. And I've seen both sides where people understand the reasoning for it and what is going on, but majority of the people don't. They still think that this board does their appraisals. And, will it help my appraisal value go down? No, we don't do that, So I agree with you that the wording, it needs to be redone. It needs to be brought into the 20th century, 21st century, to be honest. And I also agree with the attorneys. And from what I've read everywhere, it's, it's that Randall County has the voice, Potter County doesn't have a voice. So when you're saying, what their, not demands, but what their concerns would be is, them not feeling like they have a vote according to the way this is worded. I've been on the board for several years now, and aside from maybe some budget talk, I have never really seen an opportunity on an agenda item for either board to disagree. But that's just, I'm not saying that can never happen, but that's just my opinion. I pray and I hope that we would be able to come to some kind of conclusion without having to split the appraisal district into two.
Any other discussion? No discussion, we'll go on to item 5. Discussion of possible action to approve the interlocal agreement and Region 18, their Education Service Center.
Yes, so this is an interlocal agreement. We did go to Potter County on June 9th, Potter County Board of Directors, and had them approve this also. They've approved it. This is an interlocal agreement with Region 8 Education Service Center as part of their TIPS cooperative purchasing program and the interlocal purchasing system. To enter into that and use that as a means to make purchases. So this would be tied into item 6 as well.
Have we done this before? I can't remember. I've never seen this come up.
Not with Region 8, no. And just the next item is with Vertisoft for Just Appraised, and they have a contract with Region 8. So that's the reason for doing this interlocal agreement with Region 8.
Yeah.
Call for adjustment or whatever here. We talked about item 6 before we talked about, I'm gonna have to get my arms around us spending $130,000. Is what I saw on that thing, and that,
Yes, sir.
that is not something that you're really gonna have to talk real fast and maybe we'll,
I don't want to talk real fast on that. So currently, you want to just introduce item 6, I guess, and then however you want to do that, or I can just start talking about it, whatever you want to do.
Sure, for now, we're going to just table item 5, since it is intertwined with item 6, and we'll discuss the possibility and action to approve the quote from Vertisoft for Just Appraised.
Okay, so this is Just Appraised deeds processing, homestead exemption, and front desk, 3 different products. We've had the deeds platform or program since 2020 and used that extensively. That's a large part of this. As you'll see, it's that part begins in 2027, and it's 57,667. It's on the top of the second page, and that begins in 2027. So that is the same price for the next 3 years. We've had 1-year contracts with Just Appraised for those deeds. And so what that is the deed clerks get a upload the deeds that they receive from the county clerk to Just Appraise. It goes through the program, Just Appraise program, and then the clerks review it. It automatically extracts the information that they need to make ownership changes in our system, and really expedites that process to process deeds. We've been going through that 1-year contracts. This, if we can enter in this agreement, it's 3 years, and it locks in that price for 3 years. What we've been seeing is steady increases every year if we didn't have a long-term agreement. So this helps lock in a price on that part. There's 2 other parts to that. There's one that's the homestead exemptions platform, and that's going to be a way that, similar to the deeds, property owner will be able to go in online and fill out their homestead application. And instead of what we're doing now, we're just getting the application in, and there could be data that's not filled out correctly, forms, fields missed. When we get those, then we have to shoot those back to the property owner. A lot of times we try to call or email, but eventually if they haven't filled it out correctly, they've left off information, we have to deny those applications and send that denial by certified mail. $10 a pop every time, at least $10 a pop every time you do that. So part of this is gonna limit the amount of denials that we're making, because the application is not gonna allow as many bad applications. So if they don't fill out all the information, they can't submit it. So we'll limit those. It'll also expedite the processing, because it's gonna be a click of a button to process that and limit the data entry that we have to make. So we take out the errors that we will have from the clerks, that they may fat finger something while they're entering it on the exemption. Then a lot of the exemptions that we get also come in and we roll correct, so we'll go back and they can apply 2 years prior too. So if they've lived there for multiple years and they haven't filled out the application, they can come back and do that. But that creates a lot of work for us every time they do that. Then we have to go into 2024 database, we have to enter the exemption, then we go into 2025, we enter the exemption, and then we put in, like right now, we put in 2026. With Just Appraise, it's gonna be a process the exemption in prior years, and it's gonna go through and do all of that automatically, and really speed up that process for us and limit the amount of errors. So that's a part of it. The third part is the front desk platform. That front desk is gonna be kind of bring in all our communication. That's gonna be email that comes into the office, and chat, add a chat on the website if somebody wanted to chat with us. And then eventually, as we grow that, it'll be a phone system. The email is gonna kind of pull everything in a centralized location, make it easier for us to see all that information. Then there's gonna be some artificial intelligence that's built in there that we'll start building out and proving with the information that we give it, so that there's a lot of generic emails that we get. Hey, I've attached my homestead exemption, or I need to pay my taxes, and Carson primarily, and then there's about 8 of us that have, 7 or 8 of us, I guess, have access to that email. That's all coming into Outlook, and we're having to try to all manage and make sure who's replying. It centralizes all that, makes the tracking easier, becomes like a chat line in their program, and you can see who responded, when they responded. And as you keep doing that, the system's gonna learn and start suggesting responses, and you can just review it, send out the response once you get to that point. And eventually, the goal would be that some of those real generic emails that you get, the system's just answering those for you throughout the day and even off hours, so that customers are getting answers as fast as possible. So that's 3 parts. There's a part of this that is the implementation in 2027 or 2026. We talked about this in the proposed budget, and that we brought up we budgeted for this, these programs, but we want to get started with that as early as possible, so that we're not trying to do this early in 2027 as we're ramping up for reappraisal, and where we're starting to notice property owners. It's more convenient to do any kind of project like this for us in the fall when we have more time. So there's 2 parts to that. We already have the deed, so there's no implementation with that for the homestead exemption and the front desk, that's the email, chat, and phone. There's implementation fee. If we do this in June, they'll waive the implementation on one of those. They're $15,000 each. So we get on the schedule for them to do the implementation, waive one of the fees, waive that $15,000 that we otherwise would have. We lock in the price for the deeds part of it for 3 years, which is helpful. So we know what we're gonna spend the next 3 years. And part of that implementation, if we can get it approved and move on and onto their schedule, onto their calendar for that implementation, then it allows them to schedule the co-founder of the company who's guiding that development to be on site and do the implementation with us. Yes, and part of that too, when we presented the budget for 2027, one of the things we talked about was reducing one position on the staff, and part of that was implementing this that helps take some of that burden of answering emails, processing exemptions, the deeds, takes some of that workload off from that position that was there and allows us still to be able to provide the same services that we were providing before without that position.
And just for the record, there would be no cost to the taxpayer to use this, correct?
Correct.
How much of that position that's being dismissed of their pay would go towards this to make up that difference?
I think, off the top of your head,
Just curious.
I think with pay and benefits, don't hold me to this, I think you're around 45,000.
And then the sick leave, annual leave, they're not taking, the system's not taking time off. I think that's about right. No benefits, not contributing to retirement.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, that a lot of these programs that we've added, I always look at it that, yes, you can take that workload too, but if I hire somebody and they're gonna get 2 weeks of annual leave, they're gonna be on vacation some, they're gonna be sick some, they may not show up to work for whatever reason, and this is there all the time. So it's gonna be reliable in that way. And there's cost, so we have looked at, if we do this now, there's cost in 2026, we do have funds available, and we would be dipping into contingency for that.
How does it relate to the item 5 interlocal agreement with the Region 8 Education Service Center?
So that is the cooperative purchasing. If you enter into a cooperative purchasing agreement, it expedites the purchasing. They've already pre-bid contracts and gone through the state required and met the requirements of the law to do requests for proposals and receive those proposals. And so it kind of cuts that out from us doing the RFP and receiving quotes from vendors.
Where is Region 8?
It's East Texas. Pittsburgh, it's Pittsburgh, Texas. But Just Appraised, that's the contract they have, or they're in with Vertisoft is kind of handling this. They bid that contract.
My experience with buy boards like that from the business side is that one of the things that you have to sign the contract to be a bidder in that program is that you have to offer the lowest price that you offer in the market. And so that means, I guess, you're getting the lowest price, so that's a benefit.
I think it's a win-win. I think it's a win for the taxpayer. I think it's a win for the appraisal district. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contract.
Second.
Okay, which contract, for item 6 or item 5?
Item.
Let's go by item 5, if you don't mind. Christina.
Put my glasses on.
So is there any other more discussion on item 6?
I appreciate that very
On
much.
items.
I understand it now. Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna go back to item 5, with the interlocal agreement. I hear a motion to accept that contract, to approve that contract. I have a motion from Christina, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jack, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 6, I hear a motion to accept the contract from Vertisoft for just appraised deeds and processing and homestead exemptions platform.
So move.
Front desk, and I have a motion by Jason, and a second by Bob, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Alright, item 7. Value and exemption changes.
Yes, those are emailed to you like we do every meeting. That's changes allowed by the law after certification. Those homestead exemptions or any clerical changes or anything under 25.25. That's just a report, no action is necessary.
Any questions? So, item 8. Mr. Carson?
Yes, we have received a really nice email complimenting Kim Grooms on her professionalism and kindness during a informal hearing. So that's great to see during this time of year when we're so busy. So, good work by her.
That's awesome. You told her, so Kim, congrats, and thank
I
you very
will.
much for her
Yes.
work and professionalism.
Oh, can you pull it back up for a second?
Yeah, I don't know why the font is crazy on mine.
That's not That's not the font that I normally use. I don't know why it's doing
Well,
that.
of course, then.
Looks like a serial killer.
It looks right in your book.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's in your book, that's right.
sorry.
That's a math thing, I think.
I can attest when I get an email from Carson, it is not.
Yes, I sent it to her right after and told her, great job.
It's definitely good to hear that, especially during, like I said, during this time of the year, more property owners in the office and there's a little more stress. Trying
More
to get
than
through
just
the
a
day.
sentence, too. So
Mhm.
you really
That's
took their
right.
time to do
Yeah,
it. That's
they
good.
do. It's always good to see that. Our staff does an excellent job and it's good to get some feedback and be able to share that with the board.
Item 9 is the next meeting and agenda.
I don't have a date. I had a date in September, but I'm assuming that we would meet before then. We're gonna need to, I mean, the only thing from my perspective is the budget that we have to get that done and the reappraisal plan. So we have to be early September. And we have to order the election, that we need to do that at the next meeting. And I'm assuming we didn't have it on this agenda because I'm pretty sure both boards will meet again sooner than later. And then we'll order the election at that next meeting.
Can we just do call the chair or is that what you're advocating? I mean,
Yeah, we can do that if you, I mean, if y'all have any suggestions, y'all want to meet again soon, or do you want to, I know Ginger was not here today.
it's
I know there was some discussion, with item 3 that,
I'm just in set up in September, if we have to have one before that, we gotta have one before that.
now we'll have to check the date on the, ordering the election, just to make sure we get that done in time. So we may need to have one
How
before.
much will it cost for somebody to enter the election? You have to file?
Yes, there is a filing fee. I want to say it's $400, but I would definitely have to check that. Is that correct?
I think that's about right.
And then we're gonna have to, the appraisal district has to pay for our part of the election, which is estimated at $25,000 for each county.
Well, there'll be other things on the ballot.
Yeah, so we'll share the cost of that, but we do have to, kind of go back to this agenda item. We have to call another meeting for that, and yeah, you can leave it up to Ginger when the next date is, or
That's fine.
and I can work with her and get the date of that, the latest we can meet to do the order of the election, unless something else comes up and we need to meet earlier.
Everybody okay with that?
Somebody's gonna wanna spend $400 to be on this board? That's a,
Alright, no further discussion, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Motion by Deborah,
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned at 7:18. Thank y'all very much.
I'm trying to get that straight.